Welcome back to the Law Show. I'm Mike McLeod, and I'll be with you for this segment of the show. Again, the Law Show is brought to you by the law firm Kerrigan Estes, Rankin, McLeod, and Thompson. Our firm specializes in cases that involve serious injury and accidental death. The Kerrigan Law Firm has been around for 40 years in Northwest Florida, representing people who've been seriously injured and helping loved ones who've lost other loved ones in serious accidents. You can text us at our phone number, 850-444-4444. It's the easiest number around. It's our office number, but also you can text me during the show and we'll try and get you a reply, and we'll try to answer your question if you have them as a result of what you hear on the Law Show this morning. And also my email address is mike.mcleod, and it's MCLEOD, mike.mcleod@kerrigan.com. So if you have a question that you want us to address on the Law Show, or if you want to email me about a comment or a question as a result of what you hear on the Law Show this morning, I'd be happy to respond by email. In our cases, there is, of course, no fee unless there's a successful recovery for our clients. And I want to talk this morning some about our most common cases. Our firm represents people who are injured in a lot of different ways, but obviously most of the cases that we deal with are automobile accident cases. So during this segment of the show, I want to talk some about car wreck cases. And I think the first question to address is, do I need a lawyer after somebody hits me and it's their fault, it's not my fault? Do I need to call a lawyer? And in a lot of accidents, there's property damage. You may have your car totaled, but if you're not injured, if you don't have symptoms, or I think if you have modest symptoms that you think are going to disappear in a day or two, I don't think you need to rush to call a lawyer, and we've never encouraged that. If you have more serious symptoms, for example, if you have broken bones, if you've been referred by the emergency room to other physicians, if you left the scene of the accident in an ambulance and you have continuing painful symptoms and you've been referred to other doctors, then I think those are cases where a lawyer can be beneficial. And then, of course, some cases people have very serious injuries. We've represented hundreds of cases where people have devastating injuries from accidents and need our help. And we're anxious to get started on those cases that are clearly cases where a lawyer can be beneficial right away. So let's talk about the 4 parts of having a successful case. It really any case generally, but we'll make it particular to automobile accident cases. First, 4 elements. So the first thing is the other person was at fault. And sometimes that is just crystal clear. You're sitting at a red light, you get rear-ended. It's amazing how many motor vehicle accidents are just rear-end collisions where the person behind you wasn't paying attention, was on their cell phone, or was distracted. Or another car runs a red light. Those are crystal clear cases that don't require a lot of investigation and necessarily contacting witnesses, which we do a lot of times. But other cases can be, and we investigate all of these cases fully, but other cases can be more complicated. And in those cases, we do several different things. In many cases, we can hire engineers who can reconstruct accidents from the skid marks that tires leave on the road, from crush damage in the automobiles, and they can help determine how fast a vehicle was going. A lot of times in recent years, we've had drones go up to map the accident scenes in serious accidents if there's a contest about who caused the accident. And then most recently, cars over the last 10 to 15 years, all have something called an event data recorder. And it's kind of like the black box on an airplane. So after a serious accident, licensed and qualified technicians can get to this event data recorder, and it's typically in the front part of a passenger car between the two front seats down in under the glove box, not the glove box, but the center console. And technicians can access that and they can download data that's recorded after an accident. And these data recorders can tell us after an accident how fast that car was traveling at the point of impact. They can tell us whether or not the driver had his foot on the, or her foot on the brake at the time of the accident. They can tell us if the driver was accelerating, what percentage the accelerator pedal was pressed at the time of the accident, and they can tell us whether or not the occupants of the front passenger seats of the car were wearing their seatbelt. So, kind of years ago, we would have to prove these things through eyewitnesses and witnesses to the accident from various different elements. But today, we can download data that absolutely proves all of these facts: how fast the car was going, the direction of impact, whether the brake was applied or the accelerator, and how much. So this is a kind of a critical new part of investigating complex accidents when it's not crystal clear how the accident happened. Now, the second element is, does the client have a real injury? And so sometimes after an accident, it's just crystal clear. A person has a broken arm, they go to the emergency room, they're referred to an orthopedic doctor. The doctor says, hey, I've got to do surgery to put your bones back together. The client ends up with pins and plates. Sometimes joints are affected that really can persist for a lifetime and affect a person's ability to do physical things. Um, so sometimes people can get tremendous back or neck injuries in accidents, and immediately an MRI exam, which is a sophisticated diagnostic tool, can tell us that a person has a ruptured disc or a herniated disc that's pressing on the spinal column and causing severe symptoms in arms and legs. And so those cases, it's crystal clear early on in the case that the client has a significant injury. In other cases, a client can have persistent symptoms, whether they be headaches, neck pain, radiating symptoms into their arms or legs. And it's because there are no bones that are broken, it's not obvious at the outset how severe the injury is. And so in those cases, to protect the client, we don't get in a hurry. We are patient about their treatment. We wait, hoping that they get better. They follow a doctor's guidelines and care, and hoping that their physicians can make them better. And then at the end of the day, because we don't have an x-ray that shows a broken arm, we often will meet with physicians who are treating our clients to see whether or not the physician it will document that this injury came from the accident and caused our client these persistent symptoms. All right, so let's back up. 1, the other person's at fault. 2, the client has a real injury. 3, we call causation. And causation simply means the accident caused the injury. And so, as we get older, we get just typical aging aches and pains. It's not uncommon for someone in an accident to have pre-existing back problems from an injury or just from life, pre-existing neck problems. Sometimes people have problems with headaches. But when you're in a severe accident, oftentimes those symptoms become aggravated and worsened. And so most people who are injured in accidents aren't Olympic athletes with no problems whatsoever. But in those cases where people have some pre-existing type symptoms, we have to sort out, well, how was the person before the accident and what were those symptoms like? and how have they been worsened, and how are they made more severe by the traumatic effect of the accident. And again, we look typically to the physicians and doctors who are treating our clients to help us sort out, well, how much of an aggravation was this to a client's pre-existing condition? Again, sometimes it's not an issue at all. In cases where people have orthopedic injuries from an accident, it's crystal clear that it came from the accident. But in a lot of cases, we have to sort those things out. So, other guys at fault, client has a real injury, the accident caused the injury, and then the final element is there's a source to pay what the client deserves to be paid to compensate them for what happened to them in the accident. And typically, there's a source of insurance to pay this claim or case. And so in a lot of cases, we spend a good bit of effort looking for various places to make sure our clients are fully compensated. The typical thing is we look to the other person's insurance who is driving the other car. And that's the first place we look. But also, if the owner of the vehicle is different, then not only is the driver of the car who caused the accident responsible and his or her insurance responsible, but also the owner who gave permission to that driver, the owner's insurance policy is also responsible. And then we also look to our clients' own policies to see if they have something called uninsured motorist coverage. So uninsured motorist coverage, and we could spend a whole segment of the law show on this, is coverage that a person buys on their own policy that protects them in the event that they are hit and injured by an uninsured or underinsured driver. And if you have questions about your own policy, again, you can email me at mike.mcleod@kerrigan.com. I'd be happy to reply, or you can text us at our office phone number, 850-444-4444. There are a lot of kind of subparts to uninsured motorist coverage. It applies if you're a pedestrian hit by a car. Sometimes you can add your policies together to double or triple the coverage depending on how many vehicles you have. It's kind of an inexpensive type of insurance to buy. It'd be a great thing for people that are watching the law show this morning to check their policies to see if you have uninsured motorist coverage. So those are the four elements of having a successful case, and particularly this morning, an automobile accident case. Other guys at fault, the client has a real injury, the accident is what caused the injury or the symptoms, and then there's a source of insurance or other source to pay the claim. And those are the things we look at, and as we, in the weeks to come, we can focus on each of these elements a little bit more, and I hope be more helpful with that. So we're going to take another break here shortly. Again, I'm Mike McLeod here for all the lawyers with Kerrigan, Estes, Rankin, McLeod, and Thompson. We're a regional law firm that represents people who have been seriously injured in accidents and folks that have lost loved ones who were killed in serious accidents. We've been around for 40 years and we've hosted the law show for a long time. So thank you for watching and stay tuned for more of the law show.